finally gonna watch it and be like, I loved it.
The don't was me, I was just behind.
Don't watch it right.
I made it through 10 minutes with that thing, and then I
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
My question is for Alessandro. With such a vast portfolio of live action and animation roles, my personal favorite being your live action role in Smallville, which medium do you enjoy the process of working in the most, from hiring to acting to fan interaction?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for calling my career vast. Or having a vast range. That's one of the nicest things anyone's ever said. No, what is my favorite aspect? Oh my gosh, I just try to be in the moment in life. So right now, it's right now. You know, I think there's really wonderful aspects to every phase of the process. But I mean, we're in this for a sense of togetherness and of, you know, on this little planet, to feel like we belong to something, you know? And I mean, I sure feel like I belong to something right now.
Woo!
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a big fan. Death Note's been such a huge part of my life since junior high when I first saw it on Toonami. So thank you. I just want to say thank you for your work and coming here. And my question was, it almost goes back to the prequel talk we had from an earlier question. I was curious if any of you had had the chance to read the novels.
The manga?
No, there's actual books.
Oh, no.
So, sadly, Light isn't really in them, or Misa. They're mostly about Elle.
Yes, as they should be.
One of them details the case he worked on with Naomi before she died. So I was just curious if any of you had been able to read them. They're amazing.
I haven't, but I might now. I didn't even really know they existed. I think it may have. Is it one of them called Change the World?
Yes.
Okay.
And there was a movie of the same name, and
I've-
the one with Naomi is Los Angeles BB murder cases.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like, this is only the second anime convention I've ever been to. So all of this is still, I'm still processing all of you, like, in all of this. and all, thanks. And all this new stuff that some of you are bringing to the table is a revelation, right? So stuff like what you're describing, I can't wait. I'll check it out.
And when you guys say thanks to us for coming, we have to throw that back to Sac Anime and the fans for inviting us here. Because we were invited by them to be here, and we have to thank them for that. We're here because they invited us, and we're thrilled to be part of this. This is so exciting.
Thank you.
Hi, so my question is, if you all were in possession of a Death Note, what is the most creative way you can think of to kill someone?
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't want to, but if somehow I had to do it, I'm sure I'd try and find a really pleasurable way to do it. The most amazing thing ever, like, I don't know, maybe it's skydiving and you didn't know the chute wasn't open until just before it was open, or it was open, I don't know.
Mine would probably be, you know, mine would probably be having someone die doing something that they loved.
Aww.
Like if you love singing and you were on stage and you were singing and maybe you just kind of choke and die or something. But, you know, at least you were doing what you loved. Or if you love to knit or crochet, you know, crocheting like a nice sweater and then it was like, ugh, and then you're gone. You know? But then your last memory would be of something that you loved.
Yeah. And everybody could say that at the funeral, they died doing what they loved.
Exactly. Very cliche.
I think I would go with overindulgence of chocolate rations. I got a big sweet tooth, so there you go, right?
So like diabetes?
Chocolate milk?
Zing!
Drown in a chocolate milk hot tub.
That sounds glorious. As long as it's quality chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Trader Joe's chocolate milk then.
Oh, there you go. Good question. Thank you.
Cool, thank you so much.
do you resonate with your Death Note characters?
Go ahead, Brad.
Ooh, all right. Well, I mean, okay. At the beginning of the show or at the end of the show? So episode 1, yeah, I mean, I could relate to some degree. You know, I was a student at some point, and, you know, wide-eyed and optimistic. And the saying is, absolute power corrupts how? Absolutely. And that's pretty much what happened to our friend Light. So, as much as in some ways I can kind of get behind and almost agree with some of the principles and some of the ideas, you know, idealistic as they may be, it is a very, very slippery slope. And he was clearly lubed up and went for the ride. So at some point, my ethics and morals departed a little bit from his. But he got taken in by the power, and you know, too much power for one person without having to answer for it can be problematic, and we see how it worked out for Light. So I think I would have taken a slightly different path.
It's hard to come up with a way as how you would relate to a death god, but as a performer, I love to observe people and what people do in certain scenarios, and that's very much what Ryuk is doing when he, and I have been known to be a bit of a troublemaker sometimes, where I like to poke the bear a little bit, especially maybe in my younger days, and see what would happen. So, and that's exactly what Ryuk did when he dropped the notebook, the death note to Earth, what would happen when he was bored, and observe and see the consequences of everyone's actions, and it's kind of fun just to observe people.
And you love apples.
And I also love apples, yes.
Good, thank you.
My favorite fruit.
So, this question is for Alessandro. Now, if this franchise managed to cross universes with other crime dramas, do you think Elle would struggle trying to catch the elusive Jigsaw killer?
Wow, what a question. Would he struggle? Yeah, I think that struggle might not be in Elle's vocabulary, you know? Like, exertion, not really his thing. It's an interesting question because it also, like, you know, I can imagine a league of super detectives, you know, Elle, Sherlock Holmes, Columbo, would that count? I don't know. Elle in trench coat, you know, and battling Moriarty, etc., etc. I think that could be very fun. You're onto something. You should write it.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
So my question is, what do you think would happen if Elle picked up the Death Note instead of Light?
Wow. What a great question.
There'd be a lot more examples of death by cake. Or death by lack of footwear. Things like that.
Honestly, I don't know if Elle would use it. I don't see him being a particularly vindictive person or inclined to be sort of, you know, have a messiah complex like this guy. I feel like he would just leave it or bury it or hide it, stay away.
Fair enough.
He's too smart for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you just call me stupid?
Cool. So first off, love Al. He's like the best character of all time.
It's a matter of opinion.
Yay!
And my question is for each of you. So, which episode was your favorite to act in, like lend your voice to? Whether because like you did something like really cool, like Brian, like the laugh or something. And just yeah, which is your favorite episode to be a part of?
Knowing the episodes, after 17 years since we recorded them, someone would have to explain to me what episode I did what when. Like, oh, episode 12 or 13 or 23. I don't remember the episode numbers. I just remember scenes and scenarios. The ones that always tend to pop out the most for me is when he jumps out of his a sort of natural character of being the observer in the scenes where he loses himself a little bit to wanting the apples. Because he's so different in those scenes than what he usually is. So those are the ones I remember the most recording. But I wouldn't remember what episode numbers they are. You'd have to fill me in on that.
Yeah, it was like a constant. I think I said this to somebody at my table today. You know, we would get these episodes maybe a couple days before to watch or to script. So it was this constant discovery as well for us acting in the show. For me, the great pleasure was as more and more of Elle's quirks were revealed, his eccentricities, like discovering that in the moment and getting to play that was just a constant source of amusement. I mean, I would literally start bringing pastries into the studio with me to eat, and Carl, the director, would laugh at me because I'd have a muffin or a croissant or something from a patisserie down the way. And, you know, I probably gained 5 pounds, you know, just recording this show. So that was a great pleasure overall. But in terms of like individual scenes or moments, like the things that stand out for me are, there's this funny little sequence where the three of us are sort of hanging out, and all of a sudden it becomes like a sitcom or some like sort of like Three's Company, like we're just, you know, in another show they would have just been besties and hung out and played board games and eaten a lot of cake. I love that whole thing because it shows sort of lighter side. And then in contrast to that, the end of of Elle's journey, just before the very dramatic scene, almost biblical scene in the rain where we, you know, get intimate with certain parts of his body.
For myself, I would say anytime that Lisa could kind of lose it and get really jealous and cray-cray, those were my favorite parts. I also was reminded today that I did do a song on the show, and it's like, careful what you do. And I was just brought back to that moment, and anytime music is involved in a show and I get to use my voice in a different way, that was really special. And basically just like playing a pop star, I mean, I enjoyed every aspect, but I'm like Brian, it was a long time ago, so I can't remember exact scenes.
You're just a baby.
I was just a baby. Yeah.
I remember, I mean, when you're talking about the last episode, it makes it easy to remember which episode it was. But prior to that, there was a fun scene with Elle and Light that involved tennis. So that was, I won. No big deal. So that was a fun one because
I let you win.
But for sure, one of the most poignant episodes of the entire series was the last one. And I try generally not to watch too much of the source material, like the original Japanese show that I'm working on. I'll try, you know, if it's made available to us, I'll watch a little bit, try and get the gist and the taste of the show, whatever, but I don't want to do a performance that's just mimicking the Japanese actor, because Japanese is like the coolest language, so I can't compete with that. But that last episode, you know, the show was already becoming very popular over here, which was not a surprise. And I knew that people were going to scrutinize my performance, particularly in the last episode for the end of time. So I watched the original Japanese episode 4 times, which I'd never done before. And I got in my own head about it. And then I went in to record, and we got to the laugh. And I recorded the laugh, and they said, "That's great, Brad, let's move on." And I was like, let me just try it again. Okay, fine, whatever. And I recorded it probably 4 or 5 times. And the problem when you do that, and they were happy with the first take, is what you end up with is them having the opportunity to pick whichever one they want. And the one that they picked has an accidental like horse whinny in the middle of it. Which was not intended, that was just in the spirit of things, right? That's, you know, probably 3 or 4 records in, and that's the one they went with. So, but that was a fun episode to record. But it was also very sad because I knew the show was ending. So I was very difficult in that recording session because I made them let me re-record everything multiple times. That was difficult. And they're like, "Oh, I have a rewrite here too." "Oh, great. Thanks, Brad." Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
is, which character is your favorite that's not your own?
L. He's
Wow.
super cool.
I like jealous. There's just something about jealous that kind of got me. Not a huge part, but
I like Rem too.
Like protector.
Yeah. He's so cool. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
No one here is saying Ryu.
You like Misa.
Yeah, no, that's good. I just wanted to know. Thanks.
Thank you.
I couldn't pick any of them because then you're like, it's like picking your favorite child. You have to be careful. No.
I can say a million things about Death Note, so I'll keep it brief. I'll just start with Kira did nothing wrong.
Agreed. Correct.
It was my first anime I watched knowing it was an anime. I watched Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! But I was just curious, Death Note is very, very popular in America. It's actually not as popular in Japan as it is here. I was in Japan recently for study abroad, and you can find tons of other merchandise from the time, from other series that are running in Shonen Jump, but almost nothing for Death Note. So I was curious if you guys could pick your brains, like, why do you think it's really popular here in America specifically? Not even just compared to Japan, but just why it took off so much. Well, it's such a very Japan-based story.
And now, too, considering we recorded in 2008 or something like that, I think Death Note was fairly popular in Japan at the time. But the idea that, Death Note was popular when it was released here in North America immediately, and now it's popular again. And I think, I think you're right. I think it's not having a resurgence in Japan like it is here, which is, I don't know, I can't explain why that would be. It's a cool show. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, also, they have a lot of material to choose from. So, maybe Death Note comes out like, okay, cool, next. And for whatever reason, we're fixated on certain shows that we love, and then, you talk about them enough, and then somebody's like, oh, I should check that out. And next thing you know, there's a lot more interest in it again.
I don't know either. Do you have a theory, having just been there?
I think there's a lot of people that we see with everything's wrong in the world. It's very easy to clutch on, like, yeah, let's just kill them all. But when I was in high school and I first watched it, I was very like, yeah, go for it, like, kill all the bad guys. And now it's mostly an in-joke amongst my friends because we all kind of started watching around the same time. Because I was like, God, it was like what you said. I was like, guys, I found this show called Death Note. We all have to watch it. You have to see it. And my friend at the time, he looked exactly like L. And we came to a convention once, and he didn't even change what he was wearing. But I don't take up too much time. We got a lot of questions here. But thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. One day we'll find out.
Yeah.
It's interesting, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Hi, so my question's for all of you. So in the beginning parts of Death Note, Ryu's character has specifically mentioned that with using the Death Note, it is easy to kill people, but the hardest thing for any person who was a previous user of the Death Note is hiding it. So my question to all of you guys is, out of character, how would you hide the Death Note from people?
How would you hide what you were doing?
I would hide it with what you're doing, or the
I thought it
actual...
was like how you would physically hide. Oh, is that what you're asking? How you would physically hide the Death Note?
Yeah, how you physically hide it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I would have, just spitballing here,